This over here is our main district, and this one over here is our farming district. But you see, I cannot connect them together because districts must be separated by a district crossing. And you see, we also can't use a gate over here because once again, districts must be separated by a district crossing. But you see, it's possible to break that rule. And I really wanted to know what happens when you do. So that is what I'm going to be doing over here. For example, if I have a district crossing and a gate over here, I can close that gate and that lets me connect these two together with a road. This means that we are finally able to connect a path together separated by a gate between two districts. I've just moved the gate over here and it is closed right now, which means we should be able to connect these two districts together through this closed gate. And let's place another gate on the other side as well. And of course that's going to be closed right now as well, which means this section in the middle has no district. So if I click on the left side, the path is highlighting. On the right side, the path also highlights. But if I click in the middle, the path does not highlight because there's no district center connected to it. So that means I can now dynamically change which district is connected to this center area. But what happens to the worker that is working over here? So let us pause the game and switch these over. Actually, no, we're not going to pause the game. We're going to unlock levers so we can use that to toggle between these gates. Alright, so this gate is going to be listening to this lever, and then for the other gate, we're going to have a relay, which is going to be not this lever. And the second gate is going to listen to this relay instead. So now, every time I switch this lever, yeah, the district changes. But you see, just for like a tiny little fraction of a second, the game thinks that both of them are open, even though the other one has already closed. What I'm curious about though is what happens to the worker over here whenever I toggle this. So let's take a look. This worker is coming from our main district. They start working over here and then we toggle this over. And lo and behold, the worker returns to the district that they belong to. And another worker from the new district just showed up to work over there, which is bot number 165 over here. Once more, if I just switch this over, one of them seems to return to the main district this time, while a second worker is coming from the main district. Excuse me? Hello, bot number 165. Where are you going? Oh, wait a second. This bot is going the long way to return to the district crossing so they can cross over to the farming district. Alright, so workers return to their district that they were originally a part of. Very interesting. Okay, but what happens when they actually don't have a path to return to the main district? So for example, if I just close this gate right now and disconnect this from all districts, what is the worker gonna do? Are they gonna just go through the closed gate? Interesting. And what if we do that to a worker from this farming district now? Close the gate. Where is this one gonna go? They're also gonna go through the gate. If this has been confusing to you, then don't worry, because if I just pause the game right now and close this gate, but also open another one, we will find that the worker prioritizes an active path instead of going through a closed gate. However, if I just close this right now, they will repath and take the shortest distance even if that takes them to the closed gate. This is particularly helpful when you don't have bots, and a closed gate might take the beavers through bad water, so the workers will take the longer route if one is available. However, if there is no longer route available, then the workers will just rush back through the closed gate. Next up, we need to be able to block access to our workers based on certain conditions. For example, down over here, sometimes there's gonna be bad water. But whenever there is no bad water, I want my workers to actually go down there and construct my projects. Which can be whatever I make over here and, collecting some resources and whatnot, but that doesn't really matter. What matters is that we destroy one path over here and replace that with a gate. Next up, what I'm going to do is just unlock a contamination sensor and place that down here. Now all we need to do is just click on this gate and automate it based on this contamination sensor. But this is not actually the solution because we don't want the gate to activate when there is contamination. Instead, we want it to activate when the contamination is below 5%. So just flip this over here and the gate should work as usual. But once again, this is not the solution because during a bad tide or temperate weather, this place is still gonna have bad water, which means that we're going to need a couple more weather stations over here. One of them is going to activate early for temperate weather and the other one is going to activate early for bad tides. Editing walkie over here, you can use a single weather station to detect droughts Kind of dumb of me to not do that, but I didn't cut this part out because, maybe you will learn how to use multiple NOT gates and AND gates over here. By the way, this is only a problem because we have a bad water source over here as well as a regular water seep, Next up, we need to do some logic. And I need you to think about this. If there's a bad tide coming up or there is a temperate cycle coming up, I want this gate to close. Which means that this relay needs to be the opposite of whatever signal the weather station is giving it. Same with this relay. Let's just wait for all of this to get built. And now we're going to have another relay which is going to check if both of these are on at the same time. So AND condition and both of them together. And finally, we're going to have one last relay which is going to make sure that there's no contamination down there and that all the weather stations are off. And now finally, the gate can be automated based on this last relay in the cycle. So for example, if even a single weather station turns on, the gate is closed. Same with this one, and same with the contamination sensor down there. The gate closes if that ever turns off. And since these weather stations activate early, then this gate over here should close in advance. So the beavers are now going back there to work. So we've set this weather station to activate 12 hours before temperate weather, which means that it should activate right about now. And as soon as it activates, there we go. The gate closes, the beavers walk around the gate because that's what they do, and this entire section is now turned off. By the way, this is kind of extreme. In most cases, you're only going to need a bad tide detector, but in our case, the temperate weather is also equally dangerous. Next up, we are going to plan for a worst case scenario. So let's just store some water over here, some rations. We're gonna add a warehouse for berries as well, because we need to repopulate. And then we're just gonna need a single population counter over here. And in pretty much no time at all, this place is gonna get filled up. But once it does, we need to make some changes. Because we are going to measure if the total number of beavers over here ever fall below 10. And what we're gonna do when all of this is filled up is that we're gonna activate this gate based on this population counter. Holy moly, what's going on? Global, please. Yeah, so people, this population counter should probably be outside instead of inside the gate, okay? So that you don't cause those problems for yourself. And now it can be district or global, so district is probably a good idea because those beavers have access to this area. If that ever falls below 10, I want these gates to open and I want the beavers to, to get access to all the resources we store over here. Just make sure that you keep this open until all these storages are full, Otherwise, your beavers are gonna open the gate and everything is already gonna be empty. And now this is the part of the video where I wish I could do something, but I can't right now. The resource counter is not capable of counting resources in a specific storage building. You see, if that was possible, what I wanted to do was make a single district just for collecting water that shares its storage buildings with multiple districts using various gates and whatnot. There is probably a mod for that. Something else that I wish I could do was actually activate or deactivate the district center itself. Because you see this automate button over here doesn't disable the district, it simply disables the workplace. Because instead of having this storage in the case of incidents, I wanted to make a separate district that would only activate during incidents. So while this area activates when the population falls a lot, I wanted an entire district to activate when we start running out of resources. So yeah, we don't talk about that part.